All right, so today we're going to talk about our student that we assessed by the name of Abby. Abby is an 8-year-old second grader who attends school at Madeira Elementary School. She has been identified as having an OHI, other health impairment. Initially, when she was born, she was described as having global delays, which means delays across the board, both what would be academically, functionally, and socially. It was in her most recent ETR, which was completed her kindergarten year, so 2 years ago, where she was diagnosed as OHI, or other health impairment. So when we looked at the examinations that she had taken and had been administered, we looked at intellectual and cognitive, and her cognitive ability and functioning level was measured through the Wechsler Preschool and Primary Scale of Intelligence, 4th edition. This type of assessment typically measures the cognitive ability and functioning of a student to determine at what functioning level they are at, which assists students with disabilities in proper placement for classes. So when we looked at her cognitive ability, her full scale IQ came out to a 68, which is below the average range. Typically, an average IQ score on this test is between 70 and 130, and 95% of the population falls within that 70 to 130 score. So we can see that that 69 is below the average range. And being as below that average range, we kind of have a good idea of what we need to assess and where we need to place her academically. So when we see that score, we also know that she is going to be functioning below her same-aged peers, and she will also need steps put in place to assist her and try to get her back on grade level with her same-age peers. So when we discuss academic achievement, she was giving the early learning assessment to determine her current levels of academic functioning, and there are some different options that they give with this that are assessed. They look at her emotional identification. How well does she respond to such things as difficulty if she's told no? If she has an interaction with a friend and it goes positive or it goes negative, how does she interact emotionally in a situation like that? And when Abby took this, she was at the approximate age of a 3-year-old when it came to this. So a few years behind where her same-age peers were. Another way that this assesses is through play and work with peers. When she's in a social situation, can they come to a resolution if a problem arises? Can she start a conversation with her same-age peers? Can she get along with her peers? And that also was shown to be about the age of a 3-year-old, or I'm sorry, yes, a 3-year-old. Play and work with peers. This not only is on the such things as a playground, but it can also be assessed using interactions in the classroom, whether that be through a group project or just simply play within the classroom. And this also was at about the kindergarten level of entry, so right about a 5-year-old's age when we talked about this. Social behaviors. What types of social behaviors did she demonstrate? Was she able to get along with her peers? Was she able to interact with her teacher? Was she able to identify school staff? Separation from familiar adults. Sometimes when you have students that start to go to school, whether preschool, kindergarten, first grade, whatever it may be, they have a difficulty with leaving their parents and leaving people that are familiar to them. So they test to see how well she interacts and how well she does when she leaves people that she's familiar with. Does she respond positively? Does she respond negatively? And at what level does she respond? So looking at that, they had her at about the 5-year-old age level as well for that. Also, one thing they looked at is purposes and situations. And this is where they assess Abby through putting her in a situation to see how she responds. Does she respond the way a typical, child her age would, or does she respond the way somebody younger would? So that's another way that they look at it. So that is the academic achievement portion of the assessment that she completed. We know, though, in the state of Ohio that this test is mandated for students that are involved in special ed, and that's not always the case in all states, but in Ohio it is a state-mandated test. So it's typically given for the ages of 36 months to 72 months, so that's 3 years up to 6 years. Okay, so that is why Abby completed that. Next was social, emotional, and behavioral. There was not a particular